In September 2019, Adam Neumann was worth $4.1 billion and running the world's most valuable startup. 47 days later, he had lost everything and been forced out of his own company. January 2019. WeWork was valued at $47 billion, more valuable than Ford, FedEx, or American Airlines. Adam Neumann, the charismatic CEO with shoulder-length hair and a habit of walking around barefoot, seemed untouchable. He had convinced investors that WeWork wasn't just renting office space, it was revolutionizing how humans work, live, and connect. But behind the scenes, something far more sinister was happening. The numbers didn't add up. And soon, the entire world would find out. Born in Israel in 1979, Adam Neumann moved to New York with a simple dream, and an extraordinary ability to sell that dream to others. His first venture, a baby clothes company with collapsible knee pads, failed miserably. But in 2010, he met Miguel McKelvey, an architect with a vision for shared workspace. Together, they opened their first WeWork location in Soho with just $15,000. What happened next would change everything. Within months, they had a waiting list of 300 people. But Neumann wasn't selling office space, he was selling a lifestyle, a community, a revolution. "We are a company that elevates the world's consciousness," he would tell investors with messianic confidence. WeWork locations featured kombucha on tap, meditation rooms, and networking events that felt more like parties. Members weren't customers, they were part of a movement. By 2014, WeWork had raised $355 million and was expanding globally. Investors were intoxicated by Neumann's vision of transforming not just work, but human existence itself. Then came SoftBank's Masayoshi Son, the Japanese billionaire who would become both WeWork's savior and its destroyer. In their first meeting, Son looked at Neumann's presentation for just 12 minutes before committing $4.4 billion. "You're not thinking big enough," Son told him. This wasn't about office space anymore, this was about reshaping civilization. With unlimited money flowing in, Neumann's ambitions exploded. WeWork would expand into apartments, schools, gyms, even space travel. The company was burning through $2 billion annually, but who cared? They were changing the world. As the money poured in, Neumann's behavior became increasingly erratic. He purchased 4 homes worth $80 million. He trademarked the word "we" and then sold it back to WeWork for $5.9 million. He brought tequila and marijuana on the company jet. During a company retreat in 2018, after drinking heavily, Neumann announced he was firing 20% of staff, then proceeded to blast music and party until 4 a.m. while hundreds of employees feared for their jobs. But the most shocking revelation was yet to come. Behind WeWork's explosive growth was a terrifying truth: they lost money on every single lease. For every dollar of revenue, WeWork spent $2 in costs. They were essentially a real estate company masquerading as a tech startup, burning through investor money to subsidize office space for millennials. By 2019, WeWork had accumulated $47 billion in lease obligations, more debt than General Motors. But Neumann had convinced everyone, including himself, that traditional metrics didn't apply to their revolutionary business model. August 14, 2019. WeWork filed for its IPO, and everything changed overnight. For the first time, the public could see WeWork's financial statements. What they found was shocking: $1.9 billion in losses on $1.8 billion in revenue. Neumann controlled the company through special voting rights, owned buildings he leased back to WeWork, and had borrowed $500 million against his own shares. Within 24 hours, financial analysts were calling it the worst IPO filing in history. The house of cards was beginning to collapse. The media frenzy was brutal and relentless. The Wall Street Journal exposed Neumann's $500 million loan against WeWork shares. The New York Times revealed he had cashed out $700 million before the IPO. Bloomberg reported on the marijuana incident and the trademark scandal. Every day brought new revelations of conflicts of interest, questionable decisions, and financial irregularities. WeWork's valuation plummeted from $47 billion to $10 billion in just 3 weeks. Institutional investors were fleeing, and the IPO was in jeopardy. September 24, 2019, Black Tuesday for WeWork. With the IPO officially postponed and valuation in free fall, WeWork's board held an emergency meeting. The message was clear: Adam Neumann had to go, or the company would die. SoftBank, once Neumann's biggest supporter, led the coup. In a dramatic boardroom confrontation, Neumann was presented with an ultimatum: resign as CEO or watch WeWork declare bankruptcy. His empire, built over 9 years, was crumbling in real time. But Neumann had one final card to play. As WeWork's largest shareholder with special voting rights, he could essentially hold the company hostage. The board needed his cooperation to save WeWork from complete collapse. So they made him an offer he couldn't refuse: a $1.7 billion golden parachute. SoftBank would buy his shares at a premium and provide a $500 million loan, even as regular employees lost their jobs and smaller investors lost everything. It was perhaps the most controversial exit package in corporate history. October 22, 2019. Adam Neumann officially resigned from WeWork's board, ending his involvement with the company forever. WeWork's valuation had cratered to $8 billion, an 83% collapse in just 2 months. Over 2,400 employees were laid off before Thanksgiving. The company that once promised to elevate the world's consciousness became a cautionary tale about Silicon Valley excess, corporate governance failures, and the dangers of charismatic leadership without accountability. But the story wasn't over. Today, WeWork operates as a much smaller, more traditional office rental company. It went public through a SPAC in 2021 at a fraction of its peak valuation. Neumann, meanwhile, has launched new ventures and remains unapologetic about his time at WeWork. He still believes he was building something revolutionary, that the world simply wasn't ready for his vision. SoftBank lost over $10 billion on WeWork, calling it their worst investment ever. The rise and fall of Adam Neumann stands as a stark reminder that in business, reality always wins. In just 47 days, Adam Neumann went from visionary billionaire to cautionary tale, proving that even the most compelling story can't survive contact with cold, hard numbers. Sometimes the biggest dreams create the hardest falls.